Thank you, guys. I'm really happy to be here. I will be talking about my journey with Supabase and one little idea that I had a couple of months ago. Um, well, I'm Rigo. I'm from Colombia. I'm a software engineer, and I have been working in the industry for almost 8 years. Um, so basically, the idea is to kind of have like a knowledge management application slash social app where foreigners kind of have a centralized way to know more about the country and how it's to live here and visit and tourism. In the application, the idea is that users can look for places, locations, specific locations and events, communities, also have discussions between them in the communities. And the requirements for such an application are just like the basic user authentication, real-time updates for the chats and discussions, and of course DB. Also the storage for the assets that the users will have on the app. What I wanted for like such a tool like Supabase is basically a fast developer experience. You just need to focus on building the application and ship it as fast as possible so I can test it with real users. Also, it needs to be scalable and it has to be easy to integrate with the front end. The alternatives basically were just use Firebase or do my own custom backend. The custom backend was out of the question just because the time I needed to build again the application and ship it fast, and I didn't really have the time to do my custom backend. Firebase, as we were talking to this afternoon, it has its issues, not just security issues, but also in my case, I needed a way to organize my database in a correct way. By experience, I have seen amazing projects being created with MongoDB, but later on the way, they have to migrate to a relational database. So I decided to start directly with Postgres. And at the end, I choose Supabase just because I have a little experience with it, and it was an amazing tool. And I think right now it's really powerful to create any application. So for the authentication, basically I'm using the email password at the moment just because it's in test. And also I'm trying to integrate Kakao, and thanks to Miriam, and Google, basically. I was trying to put Facebook and Apple, but I think right now with the passkeys, people might stop using the previous providers. One really good thing that Supabase has is that you can have magic links, so you can invite users through magic links, or you can add them directly to your application. I'm sure many of you have played with the tool and have done many projects with it, but I will show you exactly what I have in my authentication. Right now, I just have one test user, so bear with me. Okay, too. Basically here you can add your users, and I don't know if you can see it there. This little thing, So here is the magic links for any users that you want to invite to application, and of course you can create new users basically in this form. I won't be doing that now. And so the other thing that it has, and for me it's kind of important, it's how I can protect the tables from user interactions. So Postgres and Supabase provide you with the row level security stuff. And with this, I have constraints so users can just interact with the data that I allow them to interact. Here you can see that it integrates directly with the SvelteKit, but at the end of the talk, I will mention something about that. Again, so the database and the auto-generated API, it's like, I believe, the most important thing for me. Supabase just serve directly the APIs that I'm creating from the tables. and I can consume them directly in my project, and yeah, don't bother in anything of infrastructure. Right now, the core of the application are 7 tables. There are 6 now, but yeah, so the profiles, the locations, and events are kind of like public, and the communities and discussions are like kind of like a hybrid, private and public thing. And again, the JavaScript library is super easy to integrate with any framework or front end that you have. You just need to install it and call the instance in whatever operations that you want to for the project. And yeah, here is how it looks my schema visualizer, which I think is pretty cool. You can see directly how the entities of the project relate to each other, and yeah, it's pretty nice. You can see here that it lists your tables directly, and you can create new tables and rows and all that stuff. Also, it comes with the table editor that for me, it's an amazing way to see your data and manage it. In here, you can basically do whatever you need to, like insert a row or delete the rows, or even to modify the types that you have on each column. And yeah. Also, you have your functions that basically allow you to do really complex queries. I don't really use them that much. I just have like a couple of them, and yeah, don't bother on creating these complex queries and call them in my project. And of course, you have the triggers, which basically, in my case, every time a user log in or sign up to a project, it makes the profile of that user in the profiles table. The only thing with that is that I had to create the onboarding to populate the information for the profiles table. And yeah, apart from that, you have the enumerated types that basically allow you to type any weird thing that you have in your database. And yeah, that's pretty neat. And yeah, so continuing, of course, any social app will have and will need to use assets. And Supabase provides you with a really an amazing tool to manage your assets. Basically, yeah, here you can store from anything like images, videos, and whatever you need. And again, you can tell the users how to use that asset. So in my case, you guys can see there that the user avatars are just basically owned by the users. Yeah, can you guys see there? It's okay? Yep. Okay, so again, as the tables, the buckets work in similar way with the policies. You basically can tell each bucket if it's public or private and manage it directly there. The good thing about the storage that the Supabase have is that it optimizes the assets for you, which is pretty neat. Yeah, I don't know if I will zoom out a little bit, and there you can see the image. Yeah. So the real-time subscriptions. I'm trying to build a social app in a way. So basically, I will need the users to interact with each other, and that needs really fast interactions and subscriptions between the front end and the back end, of course. For that, I need the tables to serve the data as fast as possible. I'm working on it. I don't have really anything to show here, but yeah, the idea is to have that as soon as possible. And yeah, that's basically how my little project is working right now with Supabase. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that if you don't really have that much experience with SQL or like any relational database, is that here you can run the table directly and use it as you fit. And also you have your branches. I don't know if you guys know about that, but it's a paid stuff. But you can have branches in order to separate the states of your project. And yeah, the painful part, the SvelteKit integration. It's not painful because of Svelte. It is painful because this week something happened to me that I decided to move the project from Svelte to React. Just basically because of a business decision. The project started as a personal project, so I wanted to kind of escape from React a bit, and it was fun. And it was, Svelte is an amazing framework, but the issue is that if I want to work in a team, the most probable thing is that I will need to have the engineers to onboard in that framework. And again, I don't really have the time to do it, and I'm a solo person. So yeah, the easy decision for me was to move the project to React. The migration is pretty simple. Basically, Svelte have something similar to React, which is how it manages the server-side things and client stuff. So yeah, I will explain a little bit of the process that I cannot do. Yeah, I cannot something happened. Yeah, so basically, this is how I started. I served the instance of Supabase to Svelte in a hook that will be called in every kind of helper. And I will have it in the locals that each URL has. After that, of course, I will have my services, and I will basically inject Supabase as a dependency for the service, and it will be used in the request. And you can see here that it's called directly from there, so I don't really need to do anything extra, or like have a client stuff. The service after that is get called in the what Svelte has as a server or like page. You can have, basically what it means is if it has the .server name, it's a server component. If it doesn't, it will be called directly on the client. And yeah, the data is served here. With React, the only difference is that instead of have all this messy thing about the API routes and stuff like that, it gets called directly into the page components, which basically next is used. I believe they are using server components from React. And yeah, that's it basically. The idea for the project is to be, I'm planning to launch it in like a private beta on September, if possible. So that's why I'm focusing in just building all the features of the application, like in the front end rather than in the back end. And the scalability of it is that I'm thinking maybe in the future if the application really grows that much, probably I will migrate it to a custom backend, and having Supabase right now, it's like a solution for me that it will have like I will have like a blueprint in order to migrate parts of the application. And yeah, so what I learned from all this process is that it's an amazing tool and it's really powerful. I encourage you guys to build your things and your projects with it, because basically it allows you to test your things before you even launch them. And it's not just a kind of like a little project and that's it. You can have an application that can be testable in real world scenario. Of course, no, it's not perfect. We will need caching and a little bit more indexing and rate limits. But apart from that, you can take it from, I mean, I can improve and iterate over it. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Any question? Yeah.
Hi. I have one question.
Yep.
How long did it take you to make this MVP? And a second related question, if you had made it with like a custom backend, how long do you think it would have taken?
Right now, I think I have been working on it for almost a month, I believe. Yeah. And with the custom backend, the issue is not really about the time, is that choosing the correct tools for it. So I think probably if I was not working by myself and I could have like a backend partner, of course, it will be faster. But if I try to implement it, probably will be double the time or triple, because you have basically to think not just in the tool that you will choose for the backend itself, but there is a lot of infrastructure, like where are you going to host your database, where are you going to host your bucket, on also the authentication. Apart from that, Supabase does a really good job in securing all the services, so security is out of the question, and you just focus on building whatever you need. My idea, and that's a personal thing, probably I will start to work on a custom API made with Golang. Just because I think Go is a more powerful language than Node.js, and it can manage a little bit more of like the micro front backends a little bit better than what you can have with Express or Nest or whatever. And of course, you have concurrency natively, and I have worked with it a couple of times, and the packages that they have are way better than what we have in JavaScript. Even though JavaScript is a great language and is massive, but Go is, I believe, a little bit more consistent. But yeah, I mean, probably will take 3 times more of the time that I was planning. So right now for me, like I was talking actually, in a way, it was Florian who gave me the push of faith. I needed to do something fast just because I was working with previous company and I have to sign a DNA, like a disclosure and all of those contracts. And I needed to show something on my GitHub. So that's why I said it started like a personal project. And with personal projects, you have all the time of the world, but with something that you might think is your new thing, probably you will be faster and you will like push yourself to do the things, correct things. So that's why I mentioned like it's not really a personal project now. I wanted to make something about it. But yeah.
Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for all the information that you have provided about the Supabase. I have a simple question about comparing Firebase and Supabase.
Yep.
So, like, basically, my background is iOS, and I don't deal a lot with the backend and server. But when I want to do some projects that I want to need some like little help, I just go to the Firebase, which is like a bit simple and friendly. So, in your opinion, which one is more friendly and simple for like normal users who doesn't deal a lot with the backend?
Supabase.
Supabase?
And I have worked a lot with Firebase. I have built a couple of applications, and I think Supabase is not just easier to understand, but at the same time, the UI is very intuitive and you have everything on the same thing. With Firebase, for example, the database is a little complicated because even though you have the fields directly into a card, I don't know what is the component of that. Here you have the table directly. I don't think it's a thing of just Firebase or Supabase thing. It's just that they have different models for the database. So it's different to have like a MongoDB kind of scenario rather than the Postgres thing where you have these kind of table things. Also, I don't know if you guys have heard what happened to the tea company in the United States. Firebase have a lot of issues during the years that Google doesn't really want to kind of like look into and how to fix it. It's not really a Google kind of thing, but it's more on like how the users use that tool. Again, Supabase, it's, I wouldn't say 100 times much better, but it does. Like, it secures your information a little bit well. Just you have to be careful how you set up the information.
So how long does it take to be familiar with Supabase?
No, it's just easy. It's like,
A day, yeah?
yeah, one day, even less, because you have like, look, this is your dashboard, basically. And again, if you are not familiar with SQL,
I'm not familiar that much with it.
I wasn't. When I started, I wasn't. And the first thing that they told me was, you have to create this database. And I was like, what the? So basically, you have the table editor. And the beautiful thing about this is that you have everything in just one single place. You can turn on the row level security on and off. You have the role settings. And again, I forgot to mention this. This is the most beautiful thing that it has. It serves you the documentation directly as you go on. So if you iterate over your tables, it creates the API for your REST endpoints. You can use GraphQL too if you want, but this is an amazing thing to have. Like, you don't really need to wait for your backend engineer to give you the documentation or jump up in a call with you. Also, if you guys are using TypeScript kind of JavaScript framework, there is the CLI command to auto-generate the types for you. So you have them directly on your project. You don't need to worry about them. Yeah, I went out of the point. But yeah, I mean, Supabase is way easier to use than Firebase. And you are not, I mean, it's open source, so look what happened with the community. If the community it's allowed to improve the tool that they are using, it's amazing. I think Firebase is done by Google. You don't have really that feedback, and you cannot really contribute to it like that.
All right. It's not because I'm biased. It's not because I organized the Supabase Launch Week, and it's not because it's recorded. It's recorded, but I cannot agree with you. But it's a very interesting question regarding the venue we are at today.
Yeah.
All right. Another question. Yeah.
Hey, great presentation. I was just a little curious about like the improvements required for Supabase. You mentioned caching and indexing. I'm actually a very avid user of Supabase myself, and I was wondering, they have indexing like features built in.
Yep.
Is there another way that you would actually want them to happen? And also caching. I'm also kind of curious how you're doing the caching in your current app right now, because I usually handle it in the front end. Like you just use like a library like handset query to handle the caching. But I was wondering how you wanted Supabase to handle that. I'm just, yeah.
Yeah, the indexing part. I think right now I'm pretty happy on how Supabase is managing this stuff. I don't really have that much experience with like backend stuff, but at this moment I won't really touch it. I will do it like that. The caching part, probably I will have like something like Race or something like that, just because I think it's a better solution. Also, for example, like the front validations, you can validate everything on the front end, yeah? But what happens if the user disables JavaScript? You are the F word directly. So, for example, with Supabase, you have these kind of constraints and in the policies, so you can double check those things directly in the backend. So it's not like just like you have this tool and that's it. You can manage your policies directly in there. Yeah, like I will get to that problem as soon as I start to build the backend for the project. Right now, I'm just really happy with it. And remember that for an MVP, you don't really need to tackle all the technical stuff, because if not, you're going to get stuck on that process of looping and better just think into delivering, user test it, have the feedback, and later on improve on those comments. Yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah.
I saw you were using database functions for your only triggering parts from your database. And if it's so, then is there any other way to trigger your function with edge functions? Because I was basically wondering why you used database function over edge functions.
Yeah, so the database functions are basically for directly the database in this case. The edge functions, as I understand them, they are do more than just operations on the database. So why I'm using the functions, the database functions, it's basically because they are a little bit faster. I believe they are RPCs, so they serve your information faster than the normal SQL. The edge functions, basically, it's more than that. They are more powerful than that. So, for example, if I wanted to send the code for the two-factor authentication, that will come up from here, not really from other place or the providers. I believe you have to connect them. And yeah, so for me, it's easier to have, again, everything in one place. So I have all those functions. And to be honest, in my case, it's not like I need them. This is a thing that I wanted to try. Because basically, all the filtering or complex queries, you can still deliver them with SQL, yeah? The only thing is that it's basically an RPC. So it's faster than the normal SQL on paper. But if you are happy and you have the knowledge how to improve that query, it's better to use the native thing. That's my opinion. Some people will prefer to use these kind of database functions, but again, this is a backend as a service, which means you pay as you go. And if you're not really careful on how you use these kind of things, your bill will basically go up. That's kind of like the only drawback that I see at the moment of those ones. But yeah.
Thank you for your answer. Yeah.
All right, another question. Please don't turn the mic off when you give it back to me. I always talk like. Any other questions? No? All right. Oh. No. Yeah. I saw it, but no question. Okay, that's it. Oh, one more.
Hi. So I see you're building a nice application. But I think just for context, I work for the back end like 60 to 80% of the time. And one of the things that comes along with a lot of data moving forward is optimization of the table. So I'm curious. This is the first time I saw a lot about you, Supabase. I'm curious that as a non-back-end focused person, does it help you to optimize your tables, or does it show you any reports or logs of any problematic queries or tables moving forward, or does it show you any stats of mostly used?
Yeah. It does. Like in the dashboard, you directly can see. Actually, I'm shameful to show you this, but you can see directly that I have 91 issues. So it will show you directly which queries are slow. And you have log history. Just give me a second. Yeah, so you can see directly, for example, I don't have errors right now. But yeah, anyway, it will give you the logs of how many milliseconds each query can be improved and what it does. So if it's helpful, yeah, of course, it's very helpful because even though if you know backend, you already know what you need to improve on. So it is really helpful.
Another question before we wrap up? No? Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation. I won't say this is a direct question to you because I'm not really familiar with Supabase and all those tech stuffs. So a couple of weeks ago, I was doing something, and ChatGPT told me, "Hey, you should use Supabase for user authentication." That's how I, for the first time, registered for Supabase and then did something, but it never worked until now. So I was wondering, like, for someone like me, and I know other people here some people might not be familiar with this. So if you can tell someone like me in a couple of lines what more Supabase can do for, like it does in general. So the question doesn't only go for you, but for maybe Florian and someone else to just give me 1 minute education on like Supabase. So I'll be very grateful. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the same question that I did my senior engineer 2 years ago, 4 years ago, when I was working on it. It is a building tool. It is not just a backend as a service. So again, if you are constrained by time and you need to do a proof of concept or an MVP, this is the tool. Because it allows you to focus on your users, on your business logic, on having something to present directly. And it's really easy to use. So just like anyone that doesn't have really... probably I won't be talking about this, but yeah, in a previous project, when I was working for the logistic company, we did have a proof of concept that it was just basically just the SQL generator, because at that time we were working just on the backend, and for me, that I didn't really know. At the moment, I didn't really know anything of like SQL or databases or stuff like that. Having this kind of thing is powerful, and having the visual representation of your database is the most important thing, because you know how your users are represented in the application. So yeah, I think it is a building tool, not just a backend as a service tool.
Okay, thank you.
No more questions? Oh, okay. Last one.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Antoine. I'm just curious, when you work on your Supabase app in local dev, what do you use for like looking at your telemetry that you're emitting? Because you were showing the hotel or logging stuff just earlier.
Wait. The authentication? The logs. Yeah.
So when you develop this on your own machine, what do you use? Do you just use like the output of your app, or do you
you mean the front?
Local dev? This is your deployment, right?
No.
No.
I mean, this is like, just wait a second. This is the Netlify Serve application. Yeah. And basically how I run it, wait, I have it. I just have everything on my local as I build.
All right, thanks.
I don't know if that's answers.
I think I know the question is like your Supabase instance is the one that is in production. You know, it's on.
Oh yeah. The brand. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't have like that's the only thing that I have. So my Supabase project is the backend is in production.
But then what happen if your app is released and then you need two environment?
Yeah. So
do the changes and.
Okay. So what is my idea? Because right now, I don't really have a job, and of course I have other payments to make. My priority is take advantage of the free tier of Supabase as much as I can. The branching of Supabase is a paid service. So as soon as I already start to have more than 100, 200 users, hopefully, I can start to pay for that thing. That's why I'm taking into account to maybe make my custom backend, because what happens if I don't have 200 users that can pay for that monthly? So yeah, of course, the idea is to have a env environment, a test environment, and a production environment, just to kind of like be safe, because I can make mistakes. I mean, even the Supabase artificial intelligence made a huge mistake for me, and I didn't really knew what was happening, and it deleted almost half of my tables. So you need a way to protect that, and branching it's a good way to have it.
And if I can add something on top of that, because Supabase is open source, you have ways to have a local dev environment. You just do like, if you use like Mac, you do like brew install or Supabase, and this will bring all the Docker instances like auth, Postgres, everything back to your own machine, and you can spawn just any number of new projects that are just locally. They even have their migration system. So when you change your database, you can migrate to and then regarding logs, everything that you can do on production on their website, you can replicate it locally. So I actually use it last time, and when you have when you bring the Docker and you run Supabase, like the local environment, they will bring you a couple of links. So you will have a link of the Supabase Studio locally, just localhost, and then it's the port 54 whatever. You will have your API endpoint, a different port, and you will also have you will even have the in bucket. So you will have your storage local environment where you can upload files as well, and you even have one link. I don't remember what they are using. I don't want to say any mistake and say it's a local instance of Grafana running, but you can view your log locally. I'm just not sure which system. I don't think it's something. You can go on Supabase on the studio locally and go to the logs, but they also have something else where you can check the logs. I would have to check and see what exactly is the tool, but there is something. They provide you with an endpoint you can open on the browser locally, and they will have all your logs, and you can query them. You can do a lot of things. So yeah, everything that you can do on the live website, on production, you can bring the same functionalities locally and just spawn multiple Docker instances of all their product, and you can bring just the authentication Docker container if you want, just everything. It's pretty cool.
It will just take a little bit more of time to set up. So again, like if time is a concern, probably have it in production and just scale it from it. But again, like it depends. It depends the situation that you're on. Like in my case, I just have like a couple of tables that have a lot of information, and it's really small information. So I don't see the necessity right now to pay for that branches, but yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Big round of applause again.